Dear Jamal, this is a great honor what you just have said, but can you imagine being the president of an organization like the International Diabetes Federation? I'm totally proud to be a president of an organization where leaders in diabetes health, like Jamal, the leader of a member organization. So thank you very much to you, because the leadership in diabetes care is not with the president, it's with the member organization. There are 256 member organizations of IDF, and it's covering the whole world. We are present in every country in the world. And this is very cool. But at the end, it means nothing as long as we are not acting to improve the quality of diabetes care, the quality of obesity care, the quality of NCD care, what will be the next talk about. So I have to give the honor back to you, to any one of you, for your leadership, for your enthusiasm here, for your passion in improving the quality of care for people living with chronic diseases. But if you remember the last statement from the colleague from WHO, what were the last words? We have to act now and we have to act fast. And this is what I would like to make you thinking in the next 20 minutes. What could be the way of acting fast and acting now, because it's so easy to talk about diabetes is a problem, obesity is a problem, we have to do something, and let's do something, and let's do something even a little bit faster. But what can you, if you talk to the person, if the politician builds a policy, if the Minister of Health meets with other ministers, what are the activities we can do? And as long as we are not understanding this, we will not be successful, and we have to be successful. As I said, living in a toxic food environment, living in a toxic environment, this will not change. This is the environment we are living in. What we can change is our own behavior. What we can change is supporting our people, our patients in changing behavior. But then again, the question what to do. Here's again my CV. It was introduced. And the main thing is, if you want to be successful, if you want to have an impact for people living with chronic diseases, we have to cooperate across bridges. Silos in physical activity, nutrition aspect, the physician, the educator, the psychologist, the politician, makes no sense. We have to cooperate across the silos, across the borders, to build a common policy of prevention, prevention, prevention. And if you forget whatever I say, if you don't forget prevention, 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 this is where we have to go to. It's a reality. If you ask WHO, are we successful in preventing chronic diseases? No, we are not. There are 830 million people living with diabetes on Earth. There are 1.3 million people living with obesity on Earth. And this number is far, far, far too high. But where are they living? In low and very low income countries. So they're not living here. They are not living in Europe. They are not living in the high income countries. Even if we believe it is like this, they are living in low and very low income countries. And the accessibility and availability of obesity care is very, very different than to the environment we are living in. The International Diabetes Federation is very proud. We just released the new Diabetes Atlas, highlighting also the prevalence of obesity, which is higher than diabetes. It makes also sense, because often the obesity comes about 12 to 17 years earlier than the diagnosis of hyperglycemia. And there's WHO, and WHO has compact goals. And look at the goals. They are driven by diabetes, but all of them are also related to obesity care. And look at the last goal. WHO gives a clear commitment that everyone who has a chronic disease should have an affordable accessibility and availability of chronic disease care. And we are far, far, far away from this. And the goal is 2030. So there are only 5 years left to achieve this goal, and we have to work on this. But being honest, being physician, being president, being educator, nutritionist, we are scientists, and we have to understand it's eating fried carbs. If you have carbs and you fry them at a temperature of above 129.7 degrees, so 130 degrees, if you have carbs, you fry them at a high temperature, you build bonds between fat and glucose, and this is a very strong bond. The body cannot break it down, and we eat this. And what happens with this? It's getting stored in the liver. So this is what develops MAFLD, NASH, and MASH. So, and this is the strongest health determinant for the development of obesity and type 2 diabetes. And this is not what we have on our scale. If you have a 100 gram of fat in your liver, you become a non-responder to physical activity. And if you look into the dignities on the dice, everyone said we have to increase physical activity. And if you are non-responder to physical activity due to the amount of fat in your liver, and 100 gram is a handful of fat, it's half the size of a normal piece of butter. And this makes you a non-responder, then physical activity doesn't work. You walk 10,000 steps a day and it works like 2,000 steps. And this is a major problematic determinant for the development of diabetes. But still, physical activity is very efficient. If we would walk 10,000 steps from the age of 22, we would not develop any chronic disease, including obesity, including sexual dysfunction, including depression, including dementia. This is what can be a cool strategy against obesity if you start early enough. If you have diabetes, it's actually even better. If you walk only 600 meters more than you normally does, it lowers postprandial blood sugar twice as much as 1,000 milligrams of metformin are doing. Physical activity is far, far, far more effective than any drug we can give. And it doesn't matter, is it a diabetes drug or an obesity drug? Unfortunately, the average European is walking 2,700 steps. We are a totally lazy species. I don't know if this is here in Morocco. I don't believe that the people in Morocco walk more than 2,700 steps. Everything below 5,000 steps is seen as physical inactivity. So what we are doing here is physical inactivity. If I ask the question the other way around, how many hours per day we are physical inactive? This is the answer, 23 hours and 40 minutes. We totally lazy species. We are not using the power of physical activity. True anti-obesity, true diabetology is not a brainless physician, it's not a prescription. It's in the muscle of our patient if we would be able to activate this muscle. But we are often not able to activate our own muscle. So we are the same as part of a failure. But we are scientists, pathophysiology is relevant. If you look at this is healthy. This is a young woman using glucose sensor, and the green arrows is she's eating something. The purple line is the glucose measured 1,440 times a day. And you see there's no variation of glucose. There's no elevation of glucose. This is someone who's very healthy, very insulin sensitive. Compared to her father, it's truly her father, 50% same genetic background. And you see, the father is actually having a better A1C than the daughter because the father is eating less carbs. And you see a totally different curve. The father is very insulin resistant, and there are 30 kilograms of body weight difference between the daughter and the father. So this is something we have to tackle if we talk about prevention of obesity. This is the physiology based on insulin resistance and pro-insulin resistance behind the development of obesity. Unfortunately, we don't find the people. Here, prevention would make sense. But it tells us if we think about the treatment, and if this is a diabetes case again, we should think about the variation of insulin and the variation of glucose if we want to tackle true prevention of chronic diseases of obesity and diabetes. So going into the physiology, you see here the development of hypoglycemia, the red curve, the development of insulin resistance, the blue curve, pro-insulin resistance, the orange curve. But the trigger for this is a green curve, is visceral obesity. So this is the visceral fat we have below the muscular layer of our abdomen. And why is this so relevant? We know today there are more than 800 peptide hormones released out of the visceral fat and making the development of obesity, depression, sexual dysfunction, hypertension, diabetes, insulin resistance. So the visceral fat is making us sick, but there's a new player, and this is the hepatic fat. The fat in the liver is the catalysator, is a progressive health determinant for the development of obesity and diabetes. Unfortunately, both fats play a different role. So here diabetes starts, here we diagnose diabetes, and so we are coming far too late if we really want to have an impact on this disease. We have to act here in this correct paradigm if we really want to do prevention. And what is the target? What is the target? It's obesity, it's body weight, it's the interplay between visceral fat and hepatic fat. And this interplay is important because if we want to get the visceral fat away, the answer is physical activity, physical activity, physical activity. But if you now also have hepatic fat and physical activity is not working anymore, what are you doing? What is the way to get the hepatic fat away? It's fasting. If you fast for 2 weeks without eating anything, so 2 weeks, 0 kilocalorie diet, nothing to eat for 2 weeks, water diet, and the liver fat is gone in 93% of the cases. It's the fastest gain of health, and immediately afterwards, anything that you do with physical activity becomes more effective. And this is shown. If you have fat in the liver and in the pancreas, you destroy beta cell function. If you remove fat out of the liver and the pancreas, you may even lead to a remission of diabetes. So removing the fat in the liver can lead to a remission of diabetes, can lead to a remission of obesity. And this is a cool strategy if we would implement this in public health. There are 2 countries in the world who have fasting, this style of fasting, actually in the constitution, and this is Tahiti and Mauritius. There's one country where there's a clear anti-obesity strategy, including taxes on sugar-sweetened beverages and those including artificial sweetener. This is Pakistan. So these are countries we normally don't have on our screen, but these countries have a very important health policy. But we also have to understand our patient. Whom of you likes to drink a Coca-Cola? No one. Oh. There's one honest person in the room. Who likes to drink a Diet Coke? Those who would like to drink a Diet Coke, it's better to stop this, because you see 380,000 patient years on the slide. And it shows you if you take one drink per day for the period of 1 year, what it does with your diabetes risk. If you drink water, it's not increasing diabetes risk. If you drink orange juice, it's 40%, like a regular Coke is doing. But Coke Zero or Diet Coke is doing 60% increase of diabetes risk per year. How can this be that the Coke without sugar is making more diabetes risk than the Coke including sugar? And the answer are the artificial sweetener. And why? Because if you eat a certain amount of artificial sweetener, and there are 38 artificial sweetener available and 36 does, they change the microbiome. So they change the bacteria on our gut. And we could say, why do we care about the bacteria in our gut? And it's the same like with the fried carbs. This bacteria, they produce metabolites, and these metabolites are glucose built on a fatty acid, a very strong bond. The body cannot break it down, only with a lot of energy. And this is the bacteria in our gut. And their stool are these molecules, and we are eating them. And where are they getting stored? In the liver. And in the last slide, you see this makes generating a non-response to physical activity. But there's a lot of innovations, a lot of potential to go against it. And this is something the International Diabetes Federation is very active on. Here you see gray how our diabetes drugs lower A1C, green how lifestyle is doing it, and blue how digital intervention is doing the lowering of A1C. And you can say, how can a young digital tool lower A1C? What is a young digital tool? These are smartphone-based apps. And now you could say, Peter's crazy. How can an app on a smartphone lower A1C? It's not a drug. The answer is, we are in the pocket of our patient. We never have been so close to our patient than being in the pocket. And this is interesting because every one of us is taking 1,800 decisions every day. 450 of them are related to our lifestyle. Now imagine, in the right moment, with the right motivational strategy, with the right educational motif, we would set impulses to influence only 10 out of the 450 lifestyle-related decisions per day. But do this over the period of 1 year. We can translate this into 10 kilogram of weight reduction. So this can be disruptive innovation to prevent the development of chronic diseases, including obesity. So modern anti-obesity management could look like this. And why should we fear this? There's a lot of potential in it. And there are examples of Germany licensed anti-obesity apps, which are reimbursed by the health insurance company, diabetes and obesity education by using this app. Here one using artificial intelligence where you make photos of your food and it's getting qualified and quantified, and the information is not used to blame you what you are eating, but the information is used to help you to improve the next meal. And then nutritional coaching apps for obesity using the glucose sensor, helping the patient, triggering based on the shape of the glucose curve, and helping the patient to improve their meal. And here a Swedish development, again, using the glucose sensor. And this is an app, this is anti-obesity management out of the pocket of the patient, because the app is analyzing the shape of the glucose curve and is making clear recommendation for the patient what he should do. In the diabetes sector, it tells the patient exactly at what time point he should inject insulin or take a certain drug. And then it's measuring, is the patient doing this? It's improving adherence. This is anti-obesity management out of the pocket of the patient. And now we might say, no, we don't want this because we are the educators, we are the physicians. But think about Rwanda. There are 380,000 people living with diabetes and only one endocrinologist, but a digital infrastructure which is better than in Europe. So there are a lot of environments, especially also in low and very low income countries, where this can be a chance. And artificial intelligence will disrupt the ways how we do chronic care management. But I would like to come back to the fasting. I think we know, every one of us, that eating less is healthy. Let's propose eating nothing is maybe even more healthy. And everyone who thinks now, 2 weeks not eating, it's impossible. I will die. The Hindus, they fast twice a year with water diet up to 5 weeks. So there are 1.2 billion Hindus in the world who do this, and we often don't know about it. Then all the religion, all the big monotheistic religions recommend fasting from 4,000 years ago. So this is actually something we should incorporate in our strategy. So what happens if you stop eating? Glucose is going down, insulin is going down, then glucagon is released. Glucagon is used to break down glycogen out of the liver to keep glucose level. After 3-4 days not eating, glycogen stores are empty. So what then? Should we die after 4 days? No. Then the same hormone glucagon is able to break down protein to make glucose out of it, or to break down fat to make ketones out of it. And it costs a little bit less energy to break down protein to make glucose out of it. So if you fast and you lay in bed, you break down muscles. And this is bad. This is increasing cardiovascular risk. So that means if you fast and you are physical active, a muscle which is used is not broken down. If you fast and you're physical active, glucagon is triggering the beta oxidation of fatty acids. And where is glucagon present? In the pancreas and the liver. So these two organs are freed from fat by 25 to 28 grams per day. So for 24 hours ketosis. So that means, depending on the amount of fat you have in your pancreas and the liver, the number of days in ketosis define when the liver is empty of fat. This is the fastest gain of health you can generate. Here you see an ambulatory glucose profile of someone with type 2 diabetes after the fasting, and look at the bold printed blue line. It's a flat line. It looks like the line I showed you at the beginning from the lady with a very good insulin sensitivity. And this is how fasting can tackle chronic diseases. This is MRI imaging, MRI spectroscopy, and this is the picture before fasting, and the cloudy stuff in the liver is the fat in the liver, and this is after fasting, and you see the liver is free from fat. And this is what can change disruptively interventions for healthy lifestyle. International Diabetes Federation is developing a guideline for fasting and diabetes, and this is a proposal for the water diet it's a proposal now. There are 120 experts in the world sitting on it and develop this. And this is something to consider for the future of diabetes care and obesity care. And on the physiological level, this could be the fat diet. As president of the International Diabetes Federation, I have initiated the group Fasting and Diabetes. Is led by Mohamed Hassanain and Daniela Koppel, two worldwide leaders in fasting and diabetes. And there are 19 different fasting styles which we will recommend for the use of people living with diabetes mellitus, including those with type 1 diabetes. So it's not only type 2 diabetes. There's a group working on prevention of obesity and diabetes in adolescents. It's led by Ines Schwarz from Egypt. They already have released last week a comprehensive diabetes and obesity prevention program for adolescents for the governments in the public health sector. And this is the paper which will come out now. There's a group working on type 5 diabetes, and it's not a misspelling. Type 5 diabetes will become a new disease. And there are a lot of passionate leaders in the field coming from India and all over the world, working over the next year on defining what is type 5 diabetes, how to diagnose it, and how to treat this. And this includes also obesity-related type 5 diabetes. There's another group, AI and Diabetes and Obesity Care, led by Dr. Amit Dey from India. And this is a very active, very passionate group, and they develop models how we can qualify AI to be used in anti-obesity care. And there's a lot of discussion with WHO, ASD, ADA, and IDF, because you might have seen that the Diabetes Atlas and the number from WHO show different number of people living with diabetes in the world. And the reason behind this are different diagnostic criteria. And we could say, do the experts not know what they do? But those are right, because WHO uses different diagnostic criteria than IDF is using. And it's not a big problem in Europe and North America because it overlaps very well. But where is the biggest gain of people living with diabetes? It's Southeast Asia and Africa, and it's not overlapping there. So the deviation comes from these regions, and we will initiate a group with WHO, ADA, ASD, and ADF to harmonize the criteria how to diagnose diabetes and obesity in this region. I'm the president of the International Diabetes Federation, and we need this structure as a powerful voice for people living with diabetes and obesity. And I truly believe that everyone with a chronic disease has the same right for getting the same quality of care and preventive measure worldwide. And we are far away from this. There's a lot to do. And as a president, I have 3 goals. And one is I want to be in the brain of every health politician in the world. I want to be in the pocket of every patient, and I want to be in the heart of every healthcare professional. And how to reach this? We will develop a global diabetes index. Once a year, we will measure the quality of perceived diabetes care for patients and healthcare professionals in all the countries in the world. We will release the data free 4 weeks ahead of World Diabetes Day to push politicians to see, oh, we score at 56%, the maximum would be 100, but our neighboring country is 4% better. So we have to improve something. Maybe they ignore it, but next year we do it again. And then they say, oh, they have improved and we haven't done anything. And then the people come and ask the Minister of Health why he have not acted last year. Because pocket of the patient, smartphones and using digital interventions to improve the quality of care. As I have shown you, doing smartphone-based, freely accessible obesity and diabetes education program. So translating what you are doing through the smartphone as a delivery channel to the patient. And finally, developing a fellowship program for the becoming fellow of the International Diabetes Federation. So you are invited to become fellow of the International Diabetes Federation. In return, you get all the professional education from the IDF School of Diabetes for free. There are a lot of faces of people living with diabetes on Earth. And let's act together. Let's not only talk together, let's work together to put a smile on these faces of people living with obesity and diabetes, because they deserve this, and we have to act to improve their life. There's a lot of social media. If you have your smartphone in your hand, you can scan this code. Maybe this one is better. This is a WhatsApp channel. I'm doing as president of IDF. And we will inform about all the activities the International Diabetes Federation is doing on this way. And I am warmly inviting you to become part of a global community of people who are passionate to improve the quality of obesity and diabetes care. But important is not all this activity and sitting here. Important are other activities. What we do if we talk to someone with obesity and diabetes. So let's work together. Let's discuss, let's allow controversies, but finally help to walk away from diabetes and obesity. Thank you very much.